Happy Monday. Hi, happy Monday, everyone. It's Monday. Been a rainy, long weekend Monday here. Though yesterday was really nice, so that was a blessing. So I'm coming on live tonight. Oh, excuse me for a moment. I'm going to turn my dishwasher off. I'm not going to make that mistake again. So, hi. So here we are. Couple of things. First off, so many things open here. I wanted to read something. So I know last video I did, I was talking about the amazing things that are happening right now. Inventions, solutions, spelled S-O-U-L, as my guides gave me that years ago. And so they're out there, and they don't always get the attention that makes people understand how significant the changes are happening on this planet. So I'm going to read a couple. This one's Australian scientists. They built a graphene filter that turns seawater into fresh drinking water instantly. So Australia's graphene filter makes salt water drinkable in seconds. Scientists at Monash University have developed graphene-based filter that can desalinate ocean water instantly using minimal energy. This is huge. The filter is just a few atoms thick, made from graphene oxide with nanoscopic pores that allow water molecules through while blocking salt and other impurities. Unlike traditional desalination, which uses energy-intensive reverse osmosis, this filter works passively under low pressure, making it ideal for remote or disaster-stricken regions. Its efficiency could help solve water scarcity for millions. Tests show it can purify seawater faster and more effectively than any existing system without relying on heavy infrastructure. A future where fresh water flows directly from the sea may soon be possible thanks to Australian ingenuity. So just think about the implications of that when there's a disaster. For instance, when a tornado goes through and the water systems go down, or in drought-stricken areas. It's just, it boggles the mind. It just boggles the mind what this one discovery, the difference it will make on our planet, the difference it will make in terms of, in terms of purifying seawater to make it drinkable. So, the other one, on top of that, here's another one. A Swiss team made jet fuel out of sunlight, water, and air. No oil needed. This one is incredible, too. I'm like, are they going to do it for cars next? In a bold engineering feat, a team in Switzerland has created an artificial leaf that converts sunlight, air, and water into jet fuel. Inspired by natural photosynthesis, this leaf uses sunlight to power a reaction between CO2 and water vapor, creating a hydrocarbon mixture almost identical to aviation fuel. Almost identical. Even better, it works outside under real sky conditions. The fuel burns cleanly and can be used with existing engines. Existing engines, did you hear that? Can work with existing engines, meaning the technology could decarbonize the aviation industry without redesigning infrastructure. That is huge. For the first time, synthetic sunlight to fuel conversion is not just a lab demo, it's practically flight ready. And I did look into this, and it is real. So, I mean, these are a couple of things that are just there, just, and there's many things someone shared with me on Twitter, because I did this video, and she said, oh, did you see this? And I'm not going to go looking, and I don't remember what it was, but it was a young teenager down in the US that did something. So It's happening, people, it's happening. And so do not despair. Do not despair. No matter what's going on out there, there are solutions that are there for everything that's going on. Okay, there is. The other thing was I wanted to read this to you. You don't owe the world a reason for your softness. You don't have to explain your silence, your boundaries, or your healing. True peace comes when we live for our own stillness, not others' approval. Live in harmony with your breath. Let your life be your quiet answer to all things. So that is from the Zen Tales of Buddhism, Thich Nhat Hanh. I don't know who wrote it, but it was shared on Facebook by Laura Herrig, who has this page called Spirit Speaks to Me. You might want to check her out. So, all these wonderful, wonderful things that are out there, that are just out there for us to discover and anticipate and feel confident and inspired and hopeful. Because no matter what's going on out there, no matter all that yucky stuff, you're not seeing all the light. It's, that is getting it's not being diminished. That's the wrong word. It's being shaded, I guess, by the noise and the distractions, because I'm hearing in some ways that's what those that there are those that want that. They don't want us to know about all these things. They just think of what the aviation fuel, think what that does for the industry, for the oil industry. So that's just one example, and how many examples are out there that have been buried. So in many ways, when we can be put into a mode of fear, then we don't, we get stuck in stories, and we get stuck in stories. We don't stand up for ourselves. We don't want to stand up for anyone else. But what if you fear, rather than you allowed it to stop you from moving forward, it was behind you and it's pushing you forward into action. So fear is being created. It sells. It sells clicks. It sells time. It sells clicks on Twitter. It sells clicks on Facebook, on Instagram, on anything, that even on YouTube. Because as they've discovered, the people that have all this wonderful stuff to share end up putting headlines there, because those are the headlines that get people to click. The headlines that go, oh my God, kind of, oh my God energy. And the whole video is not really that, though there may be some information in there, like the water or the aviation fuel. Oh my God, you'll never believe it. And people click on it to see what we would never believe. So that's how we're conditioned. How are we being conditioned? And you don't have to. You can step back from that. You can look at a headline and go, I don't need to know that. I don't need to click on that story. I don't need to know that all. I don't need to know the details of that awful story. I choose not to engage in that awful story. So it's enough to know headlines, are enough to know that an awful thing happened. And you know what I do sometimes, is often, mostly with stuff like that, is I say a prayer. I say a prayer for those that have been affected. I will stop on my Facebook feed when there's a child that's been missing, or a young adult, anyone that's missing on Facebook, dogs, cats, whatever. I will stop and I will say a prayer. I take the time. I mostly do. I take the time to say a prayer for ease, for it turning out all right, that the child will be found, and for ease for the family. So that's what you can do. You know, if everyone did that every time they saw this, an awful headline about this awful stuff that happened, or you know, or you wouldn't believe the state of what we found in this home. Just say a prayer. There's a young comedian. Go check him out on YouTube, Josh Johnson. He's on Facebook as well. He's got such a gentle humor. And he has pauses in between his humor, and pauses where he says something, and then he smiles like that. And then he will start and say a few words, and then he'll stop and he'll smile again. So he did a piece on, because he's been doing shows in Canada, and he did a piece on Canadian news versus American news. It's hilarious. It was so funny, you know, as he's American and he's noticing the difference in the news, and his story was, I don't know whether I can do it justice, about it was in Ottawa, and the Ottawa news, someone had been stopped for speeding, and he goes, speeding, oh no. It was in the news. He had drugs on him, and he goes, and marijuana's legal up here. And he says, meanwhile in the U.S., and he relates a story that is like truly awful. Anyway, he quietly and gently shows the yin and yang of life, and makes you laugh, makes you smile. So Josh Johnson, check him out. I think you probably enjoy it and won't regret the time you spent listening to him. Okay, and he does, it's not offensive humor at all. It's very gentle, kind humor. So I had someone ask me a question. She said, can you ask the guides, what do you do when your income is static? There's a lot of people on that are retired where the income is at one level, and yet the cost of living goes up. What do you do to afford living? And so how can you cut back? What do you do about this? And will you ask your guys? And for one, I've already done some of this work myself, so I will give my point of view first, and then I will pull a card, ask the guys, and pull a card and see what happens. But when my husband retired, we were faced with that. I was like, oh, now what? Because he was making excellent money, and we still had a mortgage. So when he retired, I was like, just one more. If we'd had one more year, it would have just been so good, but we didn't. And so there was this angst, you know, like, oh my God, you know, what are we going to do? But it worked out. And then discovered the same thing this woman said. It was like there wasn't a lot of, there was no cushion at the end of the month. There was no cushion. And so I went and I looked into my statements to see what we spent, to see if we, you know, what we could cut back on, all this kind of stuff. And I'd already done a lot of that when my husband retired. I'd already figured a lot of that out and got rid of some unnecessary stuff. So then I looked at that, and then I did that again, and I got rid of a couple of things. And I looked at where we were spending money, and realized basically we weren't overspending. So we could get rid of a car, but both cars are paid for, so we were essentially getting rid of a car insurance payment and some gas money. So maybe $200 a month. So I'm not the point to do that. So I go to the bank and I say, here's my issue. And he said, oh, do you need to get more money out? And I said, yeah. Okay. Is that a possibility? We've got a lovely young man that handles our stuff, because we have enough money, he says, to live in, and to last us until, now this is barring, you know, I don't know, would it bar going into a home? I have no idea. Anyway, until we're 92. And I go, well, who's 92, me or my husband? He said, you. I say, oh, okay, that's good. He said, so yes, you can get money out. And I said, well, what does that mean? He said, well, you'll have enough money until you're 91. I said, well, then let's freaking do it. So, and this doesn't include the equity we have in our home. This is just very very low risk investments. And of course, they will take a hit, but or probably have taken a bit of a hit, but they're really in low risk investments, so we haven't had the same kind of hit that some people have had. We haven't had the same kind of growth that some people have had. So I had looked at all of that. We don't go out for coffee as often. That's kind of a treat, because when we go to our favorite coffee store, it's $15 for a medium mocha latte and a medium latte and tip. So, and that's not Starbucks, that's a local place, so a little bit more money, but we're supporting local. We go out for dinner maybe once every month, once every 2 months, another expenditure on top of regular. So I've really gotten good at making sure I'm not throwing food away. I keep track of what's in my freezer, and I'm doing even kind of more cooking and less processed foods. So not buying a lot of snacky foods. So those are the kind of things I've done. And so everyone has to decide for themselves where you're willing to cut back, where you're willing to adjust what's important to you. Perhaps we don't eat a lot of meat. One chicken breast will do both of my husbands and I, even though I buy organic chicken. I could cut back by buying regular chicken, but my body rejects regular chicken, so I get organic chicken. I could cut back by buying regular eggs. I don't. So these are the choices I have made. So those are the choices that you make. You look at everything you're doing and then adjust and see how you can adjust. And you need to do it in a place where you're curious about it. Thank you. Where you're curious about it. It's a bit of a game. You will find when you face it head on and really look at it without judgment that it's easier to deal with. There's a relief in that. There's a relief in knowing exactly where you are, and then knowing that you have to make some choices. And sometimes they might be hard choices. They might be. But sometimes those hard choices could end up being a good thing in the end. Maybe you decide you're going to sell your home and move into a less expensive home. Maybe you're going to decide you don't need a 2-bedroom place. You can get by with a 1-bedroom place. I don't know. You give up your car because you're on a bus line and you don't really use the car that much. There's so many different parts and pieces to it. And I'm not going to tell someone what to do. This is only something that every individual has to do for themselves, and it has to feel okay. You have to be okay with it, or else it's not a good thing. So you have to come to peace with it. You have to come to peace with it. As I heard someone say, there's no shame in going to the food bank. If you're between, if that's the difference, to have a little bit extra cash as a cushion, then go to the food bank. There's no shame in that. There really isn't. There's no shame in friends getting together and buying bulk and cooking together, and then you share the meals. That actually can be a lot of fun. So you think about some of the things that you used to do. I'm hearing back in the day. You plant a garden, perhaps. You go to a community garden with friends and you share a plot. And I don't know. Frozen veggies are, if you're cooking, you're not doing a salad. Frozen veggies for soups and stews are a beautiful choice. You can buy them organic at quite a lot. They're not expensive. and they've been frozen fresh, picked and frozen fresh. So oftentimes they're better than what you're getting that's been on a truck or whatever until summer hits and there's just markets and what have you. So you see there's loads of different ways to save, and that's up to you how you choose to do it. Okay, that's my bit because I did go through that twice, and it's not fun, but it is a relief to do it. Really, it is a relief to do it. And now when I look at things, I look and go, okay, what do I do now? What's next? What's next? What's next? And because I'm not in a worrying state of mind, things just kind of fall into place. So I'm quite happy about that. So we're going to pick one card on this one subject, which would be quite, for a lot of people, might be a topic of concern. So this card, take the lead. And, nope, take the lead. And she's climbing up a ladder to the moon, to the sky. Take the lead. That's exactly what we've been talking about. You take the lead. Don't allow circumstances to hold you back. Don't allow circumstances to place you into a place of fear where you're afraid to look at the reality, what's going on in your financial world. If you take the lead, then you have some control over it, some power over it, and you're able to adjust, be creative, maybe pick up a part-time job, and maybe, I don't know, there's so many different ways, and apparently there's money to be made with AI, and I'm like, I'd kind of be interested in AI, learning about AI. So maybe you have someone in your world that can teach you about AI and how that can help you earn income. So it's kind of thinking outside the box, taking the lead in your own life. Don't allow yourself to be the victim. Don't allow those slogans from the conservatives, axe the tax, bring it on home, all that kind of stuff. That's got nothing to do with you. Nothing at all to do with you. Take the lead in your own life, and don't allow that outside stuff. People's outside opinions, people that say it's not fair, and it's like, you can get into that not fair, and it can be true, but it's not good for you. So it doesn't matter how not fair it is, it really doesn't. Because what matters is what you do for you, right? That's it, plain and simple. So there's one more card for this, okay. Revive the dormant. So for some of you, there are things that you used to do to make money, to bring in income, that you can do again, that you've let slide and let go dormant, and it wouldn't take much to get it moving again. So be it an idea, a project that you were already involved in, maybe multi-level marketing that you were already involved in, maybe doing readings, maybe, I don't know, there's lots of ways you can make money under the table too, like doing readings for cash and cleaning people's homes, which I used to do when I was younger. So there are many walking dogs, sitting, cats sitting. Like there's so many different ways to bring in a little extra income, and sometimes all you need is a couple of $100 more a month to kind of give you that cushion that makes you feel like I can do this. And maybe it's more than that, maybe it's 500, but just enough to make you feel like it's okay. It's okay. Also sell off what you're not using. Go on Marketplace. Sell the stuff that, you could go into secondhand stores and resell that stuff on Marketplace. That's, if you're good at that, there's so many different ways, like as I say, so many different ways. But if you've got stuff that you're not using, you get rid of it. Like, you get rid of it and you allow space. We talked about that before, creating space for the new to come in. So allowing the space for more abundance, because if you're holding on to the old energy, and be it in the money you spent on stuff that you really don't pay any attention to anymore, it doesn't serve you anymore, and you've just got stuff, it's just stuff. Maybe even make some cash off your stuff. Get rid of it. Allow for space. And stick that money in a bank account and provide a bit of a cushion for yourself. Okie dokie. So, in the news, poor, I shouldn't say poor, the former President Biden has prostate cancer. And so Jake Tapper from the CNN, I hadn't realized it was him, and another guy wrote a book about his time in the White House and how in the last couple of years he wasn't very present as the president. Unnamed sources, blah, blah, blah. Of course, that will sell a book. Unnamed sources, like if you don't have, it's easy to be an unnamed source, right? Anyway, where there's smoke, there might be some fire. However, Biden, we knew that Biden liked to have a nap in the afternoon, but then he kept going. He brought the U.S. back, from Trump's. He brought the U.S. back. He really did. And Trump his whole story is it's Biden's economy. Well, it was when you got it, and now you've ruined it. So anyway, all that to say, so there's a lot of chatter about this book, right? And then, of course, because people make their money off news. People get their money off the clicks on YouTube, the clicks on Twitter, the clicks on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. Everyone's making their money off. Well, I'm not making money on it yet, but for the news organizations, they are. And so there's a lot of chatter, and then they get the experts on, the opinion makers, and depending which one you're listening to, it's extremely biased. And so then the diagnosis comes out with Biden's cancer. Well, that kind of takes the wind out of the sail. Like, how can you dismiss this man as a president when he's got cancer? Well, turns out, yeah, some people still can. So that's the world we're living in. Meanwhile, Biden is just a man that did his very best, who was in service to the country for most of his adult life, had much tragedy in his family. And so send your prayers out to Biden and his family that they move through this period of time with ease. It's the diagnosis is not good, so all it is now is a time. How long of a time does he have? So that's the one news piece. The other news piece is that Congress has passed the big, beautiful bill. Why do they have to call it the big, beautiful bill? And all it is cuts. So now it's sitting in Senate, and the cuts will be where they shouldn't be, and the cuts are there because, so when Trump was in office the first time, he gave a huge tax cut to the 1%ers, huge tax cut, and created a lot of debt in the U.S. government. And so that's what Biden came into. And then there was debt created through the pandemic for all around the world, all the countries got debt created around the pandemic. So Trump's losing it. It's just nonsense. And so I'm so glad I live in Canada with our PM, that's the economist. And I've discovered I kind of enjoy learning about the economy from an economist in terms of, so I just listened to something on YouTube and I was engaged for over an hour with this panel. And I'm like, oh, yeah, of course. And now I see, and that was making me see why Carney's doing what he's doing. And then I'm looking and going, well, why is Trump doing what he's doing? Because he doesn't understand the economy. He doesn't understand tariffs. He's an old-fashioned man in a modern world, and he would prefer to be back in a time when he could be king, or at the very least when he could be, I don't know, who were the really wealthy people in America, in when there was so much, when there was poverty, and yet the names are there on the tip of my tongue. I'm sure some of you could come up with them. But after the horse and carriage, when there was, I can't think, the Carnegies maybe, there are others. That would be his time. This is not a kind man. He might be kind with his family and he might be kind with his friends, but most of us are kind with our families and friends. And if you're watching this and you're someone that's kind to the rest of the world, I'm pretty damn sure of that. He is not a man that's kind to anyone outside of his sphere of influence. As long as they're on Team Trump, then he's okay, but otherwise, forget it. And so he's not one that sees the whole, a broad picture. He has no understanding of the world today. You know, he's got a gut instinct for politics, that's it. And he's losing it now. He's just off on tangents when he's speaking, and I'm waiting for someone to, you know, it's like the emperor wears no clothes. He has no clothes. And how the news media is not even talking about it. They're not even talking about the nonsense that he's spewing. Most mainstream media. So there we have Carney, who's was over in Europe and for the Pope's inaugural prayer, you know, something like that, with his wife and his daughter, and then he met with European leaders. And so Carney is doing what needs to be done, and he's understanding. So as I've been seeing this, and then I listened to this YouTube today, which talks about how the way to, because what the U.S. is doing is just shaking up the whole world in terms of the economy, is that then countries have to start doing, and that's what Canada's doing, is getting this interprovincial trade going, so setting down the barriers. Like, for instance, Ontario wine is only sold in Ontario. It's not shipped to BC. BC's wine is sold in BC. It's not shipped to. It's kind of protectionism for the different provinces. But now it's time just to let all of that protectionism go away, because we're stronger when we can trade with each other, when the provinces can trade with each other and share the bounty, as it were, right? And so then that extends to the EU. And when we can become, part of these other countries where our way of thinking, not everyone that aligns with Carney's way of thinking, that thinks the world can be kind, there's enough for everyone, because, the world had been lifted, this one guy on YouTube said the world had been lifted 1 million people out of poverty before Trump got in. I'm trying to think, I can't think of the timeline, but 1 million people, most of it in Asia. That would be through manufacturing, I'm sure. But 1 million people, that's no small thing to lift 1 million people out of poverty, right? That is what people talk about globalization. They don't want globalization. Well, we live in a world where we're all interconnected, right? And we have to prepare for the future, and the future is wonderful. Will be wonderful. It will be wonderful. But meanwhile, as we're shifting into that, what does that look like? as robots are taking over manufacturing processes. There's so much that will change, and in that, they've been trying to. I think there's been a knowing that a guaranteed income is going to be necessary, so that people have the same amount of money, so that people can survive if their jobs are made redundant, and so they end up doing something different, or the jobs are, say, distributed between one job is distributed between two people, and so there's a guaranteed income supplement to guaranteed income. And there have been some pilot projects that have done this for low income people, and it was successful, and then they stopped it. So a lot of people think that's horrible. What, people get money for nothing? Well, no, you still have a job. You still have a job, but then you get money to up it because cost of living, yada, yada, yada. It's whatever it is. And the people that want more will always work for more, will always work. If they want the big house, they will work their ass off for it. If they want, a fancy car, they'll work their ass off for it. If not, they live a good life with their family, and their needs are smaller. I mean, that's just the way it's always been. It's not a big deal. So I don't know whether I'm articulating this properly. So I'm happy to have Carney. I'm surprised that I'm as interested, that I'm understanding some of the economic talk out there, that it's making sense to me, and making me go, oh, of course, I'm having aha moments. And these aha moments are actually colluding with stuff that I've been musing upon, that my guides are dropping little breadcrumbs for me, and I follow them along. And of course, I never have my phone on me. I never take notes, and so I just kind of go, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I know I've had some cool thoughts, but what are they? I don't know. I don't remember. So this is kind of, when I do this, is kind of a way to have it put out there. So we're at 37 minutes. So I'm going to pull a card for everyone. It's two cards. I did work for a specific question. And now I'm going to pull, I'm hearing two cards for the rest of you as just a general, the energies that are out there. Okay, so a lot of this is trust your soul, not your role. Trust the divine plan. Why am I being a little offhand about this? Because these cards have been showing up before. I'm like, really? So I guess the message is important. Live your soul, not your role. Your role is husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, office worker, factory worker, mother, daughter, son. That's just a role. It's just a role you're playing, Your soul. Your soul is there using the role, using the role to grow. So are you allowing your soul to grow? Are you allowing the role that you're playing to grow your soul? Or are you in a box with your role, not allowing for any growth, not allowing for anything new? It's kind of like for the money, right? You're stuck in this box of what you think it is, without being able to kind of go up here and look down the bigger picture. So your role can be a box, and your soul is up here, like, well, okay, he may be this, but if you just did this, within that, oh, the heaven would open up. The angels would sing. The choir would be singing a song of gratitude and appreciation to you. Truly, truly. And they're laughing and they're going, yeah, that's true. That's true. So trust the divine plan. And this is something that I always live with because it took me a long time to get here. But I look back and I would always, with stuff that came up, my husband really was very, very, very good at his job in turn. He was in sales in our RV manufacturer. He was brilliant at relationships, and he wasn't sales on a lot to consumers. His consumer was a dealer, and then solving problems with the consumer who bought the product. He was absolutely brilliant at it, and so he got bigger territory, more a more established territory, paid him really well because he could solve problems like crazy. And then he would get an email or a message that they wanted to talk to him. And the very first place he always went to was, oh my God, they're going to let me go. I'm too old, because he was working way past retirement, your typical retirement. They're going to let me go. I'm too old. They pay me too much. They can hire someone younger. And I'm like, they're not going to do that. You make money for them. You solve problems for them. And you don't know. And I go, well, okay. And I trusted. And I was inevitably right every single time. So I began to notice that when we owed the CRA a pile of money because we'd done something with the way it was set up for the company paying us that was not a good idea at all. And so we ended up owing a load of money to CRA and paying an accountant to sort it all out. Not fun. And then I had to trust. And that was hard. I had to trust it was all going to be okay. And where was I placing my faith? I was placing my faith, I guess, in me and my husband, in the fact that every single time something happened, something better came of it. Every single time. Every single time. Always. It always turned out better than I had hoped. Better. Like, so I would look back and go, okay, that's how I trust this. That's how I trust the divine. See? Trust the divine. So look back on your life and think of the things where you thought it was horrible and it would never be okay, or this was the worst thing that happened, and then it wasn't. It wasn't the worst thing that happened, and you ended up in a much better spot than you could have ever imagined because you were playing your role and you didn't imagine that there was anything outside of that box, right? So when things happen, trust the divine plan. It doesn't mean you're in inaction. It's not like this stuff happened and I wasn't on the phone to CRA and then I wasn't on phone and I wasn't going through files and finding everything I needed to back up our argument. I mean, you still have to do stuff. You still have to take action because we're on the planet and physical. So I still had to go through finances and to figure out what to cut back. What could we cut back? What could we let go of? Do we really need this? Can we? So all of those, there's still action to be taken. So you trust the divine plan, but you always take steps forward, knowing that the universe has your back. And when you're stepping forward, then doors can open. And if you're not stepping forward because you feel like the timing is a little bit off, that's fair. Truly, that is, if you're in touch with that part of you, that is fair. But if you're not stepping forward because you're afraid, then you have to make peace with that fear. And so meditate, write in a journal. What's the worst thing that could have happened? Do all that. Play it out. Play it out with all the, those stories that they have with kids where, and then there's a plot twist. And so what happens after that? So play it out like that. So that the fear, you aren't consumed with the fear. And then you will find you can trust in the divine plan. Then you can move forward. And then those doors will open and opportunity will come along. And you will see with new eyes. And your role will have expanded in your life. Okay. That's it. 45 minutes. I'm done. I'm done. So, I think that's it. I gave you some inspiration. I told you some cool stuff. And hopefully this will be good for you. And this is Linda from Go for the Joy. Entertainment purposes only, allegedly, because I don't know the whys and wherefores of a lot of stuff. And what else? Yeah, I'm on Facebook, as you know, and I'm on Twitter, and I'm on Blue Sky. Twitter's not particularly, but Blue Sky's a cool place. Check out Blue Sky. Check out Instagram. I'm on Instagram too, along with a few people. Remember to check out Josh Johnson for some good comedy. And check out, who else? Who else was I talking about? Who else was I talking about? I Speak with Spirit. Laura, someone I Speak with Spirit. Check her out on Facebook anyway. She's been posting some cool stuff. Check out Jarrad Hewitt on Facebook as well and on YouTube. Both really inspiring. Both really inspiring. So with that said, I'm going to say good night, farewell, and we'll do it another time. And if you want to send your questions in and I will answer them, then feel free to do that in comments. Okay, good night.